Welcome to our PlantPure Kitchen Live. I'm Kim Campbell, and today we are making a very easy recipe. We're making quinoa pesto burgers with crispy oven fries. I'm sort of a French fry hound, so I want to show everybody how to make great French fries that aren't greasy and unhealthy. Before we get started, we're cooking along, so I'm assuming that you're in your kitchen cooking with me. So it's really important that your oven gets really good and hot. So turn your oven on now at 400 to 425. I prefer it hotter, so I would go to 425. If you have a convection oven, set it to convection, because convection means that the air is blowing around in your oven and you want to get those French fries really crispy, and it's good for your burgers as well. So turn your oven on, make sure if you have a convection feature you're using it. I had one for years and years and never used it, and it's a great thing. And then the next thing I want to urge you if you're cooking along is to make sure you have all of your items out and ready to go, because I tend to move along at a quicker pace. So have everything ready to go. I have everything right beside me ready to go. Slow me down if need be. The first thing I want you to do is cook your quinoa. So you've got about 1/4 cup of quinoa in the pan, and it's dry because it needs to be cooked for these burgers. And add about 1/2 cup, so it's double the amount of liquid. And go ahead and get your stove on high, because you want it to boil. Sorry for that ticking. You want it to boil. As soon as your quinoa starts to boil, pay attention to it, don't let it overflow. As soon as it starts to boil, you're going to turn it down really low and just let it simmer. So that's going to cook while we go through this whole process. Nelson, holler at me if I let my quinoa start to bubble over. So I want to talk about the potatoes, because we're going to make French fries from potatoes, and I'm going to use russet potatoes, also known as Idaho potatoes. You can use any potato, but these are really the magic behind French fries, because they have a lot of starch in them, and starch makes things creamy and nice on the inside, crispy on the outside. But I've used a lot of potatoes, but I would stick with russet potatoes. I also recommend you get organic potatoes, because there's so much junk and pesticides and they're growing in the ground, that you want to make sure that you get organic. And if you don't get organic, wash them really well. I am not going to peel these today, but I want to show you how to cut for French fries. You can buy fancy French fry cutters. I have one at home. I just prefer to do it this way. So the way you're going to cut your russet is kind of set it lengthwise like that, and then cut the end off of it. You can still use that. But what you want to do is create a straight edge on the bottom, so your potato's not rocking around. And then you're going to cut it into slices, about 1/4 inch slices. The thicker you cut them, the longer it's going to take. So really, you can cut them into any size you want. Then when you get it all sliced, lay it down flat, and then start doing your French fry. Like you could see on the...
Kim?
Yes.
Sherry Rice wants to know, how much cooked quinoa does 1/4 cup of uncooked quinoa yield?
It'll fluff up to about 1/2 cup. And that's about what we're going to use in the recipe for the burgers. But I want to show you, see all the starch that's on your knife? That's because you have a really starchy potato. And some people, some chefs, and I've done it before, will take the potatoes and they'll put them in cold ice water. And what it does is it gets rid of all the starch. I don't like to do that. I do it if I make it ahead of time in the morning and I'm cutting potatoes. I'll put it in cold water and stick it in the refrigerator, and then they don't brown and oxidize. But I like the starch on my potatoes. They kind of make them puffy when you cook them. So I've got these ends. I'm going to go ahead and use those. Use every part of the potato. And then we'll cut up one more. And I know that when the picture that I used online, what I did was I laid it down flat and I cut it into big chunks, so they're more like home fries. But we're going to do it this way because it cooks a little faster. Sometimes your potatoes will have some of these spots. You can cut them out if you want. Cut them like that. And if you're wondering how many potatoes to use, I usually go with about 1 potato per person. Nelson and I love French fries, and we've had a lot of French fries today because I brought my air fryer and I'm playing around with my air fryer. I don't normally use an air fryer for French fries, but I thought I would share with you what happens when you use an air fryer, because I know a lot of people are curious about air fryers and if they should get one. I have a really inexpensive GoWise air fryer, and it was about, I think it was about $75. I bought it on Amazon. But I have a convection oven at home. Hang on, I gotta turn my quinoa down so it doesn't burn. It's starting to bubble. I have a really nice convection oven at home, so I don't really have a need for an air fryer. If I was gonna go out and invest in an air fryer, I would go ahead and get the Breville because it's nice, you can get a lot in it, and it's a really good quality. So now we've got our French fries ready to go. And what I do typically is I take a baggie, just like this, and you can use the baggie over and over. You can put it in a container, but for some reason, I think the baggie coats it really well. And you can put anything you want in your French fries. But today, I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of garlic powder. And I know your recipe said, did it say 3? No, it said two russet potatoes. So we're gonna do garlic powder, and then about a half a teaspoon of cumin. These are almost like a little bit Mexican flavor. And then a teaspoon of chili powder. Put that in there. And we'll add paprika. This is not smoked paprika, it's just plain paprika. You could use smoked if you wanted to. I just prefer not to for this recipe. And then I'm going to put a little bit of sea salt in there. And then seal it up. There's so many things that you could put in this bag. You could put nutritional yeast flakes. You could put onion powder. You can buy some really nice spice blends, Mexican spice blends. I even like to put lime juice in this. Gives it a nice, so if you're cooking along with me and you've got your bag of French fries, go ahead and put whatever you want in them. I do this method for vegetables too. Like if we are having roasted vegetables, I put a bunch in here. I put like Brussels sprouts and peppers and onions and stick them in the bag because I think it coats them really well. Then, because I wanted to show you the difference, I'm going to put half of them in the oven and half of them in the air fryer. I use parchment paper. You can use a silicone mat if you want, because you don't want them to stick. And because these are starchy, you want to spread them out because the starch makes them stick together. So we'll move them around like that. And then in the air fryer, it has a base. This is what the base, it's not the cleanest because I just made some, but it has a base like this, and the base comes right out, just like that, so it washes easily. And I'm gonna go ahead and put some French fries in my air fryer. Set that. You can wash that bag and use it again and again, and it gets ugly, and that's okay. Just wash it and save it. It'll be your shake and bake bag. Spread these around a little bit. I'm going to warn you, when I made these today, they were really, really good. But for some reason in the air fryer, they tend to stick together. So let's hope this works today. I'm going to put them in my air fryer at 400. And I'm going to put them in there for about 20 minutes. Ooh, it worked. I had so many problems with that air fryer today. I think that's why I have this idea that air fryers are not the greatest. I just think I don't have a great one. But if I were to get an air fryer, I would get a Breville. They do save on energy because if it's just 2 people, you just have your air fryer going. You're not using the whole oven to heat up 1 potato. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these in. I have some already in there cooking to show you. So put those on the bottom. You're gonna love these air fried potatoes. They're so good. And you know, Nelson and I eat them all the time. We make them for lunch quite a bit. So I'll put that over here. So the next step is to get working on the burgers. So you are gonna need a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you're gonna have to maybe chop them up really fine. I'm not really sure how to do this without a food processor because it just makes a huge difference for a veggie burger. I think this is a great time, since we're all not eating out and we're all cooking from home, to make a lot. So in this recipe, I would almost double the batch. And you can already see the quinoa. It's putting it under the camera so you guys can see. It's almost done. If you notice, I didn't rinse the quinoa. I buy it, it's already washed and rinsed, and it's organic. But if I were you, I wouldn't worry about rinsing it unless you just really can't stand the taste. It has something on it called saponins, and saponins, they're sort of a natural pesticide. They could be a little bit bitter. So when you rinse it, you get the saponins off. But saponins are actually really good for you. They help reduce your blood lipids. This is a really good seed, grain, or whatever. So mix it in with your rice. Learn to use a little more quinoa because it's so good for you, and it diversifies your starches that you're using. So in your food processor, the first thing you're going to put in there are the oats. Let me grab my... And I go in sort of in order with this, and it's kind of important because if you start putting in your vegetables first, you're going to get maybe more mush. So start with your oats. And I used a cup of just whole oats. And then walnuts. You can use walnuts or sunflower seeds. You can really use any seed. I just use walnuts because it's what we always have. And then I'm going to turn this on. Oops, wrong way. I have a different one at home, so I have to get used to this one. I'm going to turn it on. You're going to not turn it into a flour, but close to a flour. It's going to be very, very grainy. So take your top off, give it a look, and it's still pretty grainy. You don't want to be biting into those big chunks of oats when you're eating your burgers. That's probably pretty good, yeah. And if you don't have a food processor, I would try just using your blender and maybe pulsing this into more of a flour, and then you could do your beans separate and just keep dumping it all in a bowl. So then the next ingredient that you're going to add in here is your garlic, or your garlic cloves. This is called pesto burger, right? So what's in pesto? It's basil, it's garlic, it's pine nuts, and it's olive oil. So you want to make sure you use the garlic because you're really trying to get that pesto-y kind of flavor. You're going to be amazed because these taste just like pesto. So then we add a cup of fresh basil, and it grows like a weed. So I'm going to go ahead and put a cup in. You could add 2 cups if you wanted. I mean, there's no limit to the basil. And then I'm going to put some spinach in here because that gives it a nice. Well, you should put spinach in everything, but it just gives it a really nice color, and there's a lot of nutrients in spinach. All right, it's talking to me. So what you want to do when it does that is just take it out, move it around a little bit. Actually, it's working. It's working for the camera, so I don't know if you can see that. I'll put it right back in there, and it starts back up. It's working. All right, and then the next thing is garbanzo beans. But before I put the garbanzo beans in, actually no, I'm going to go ahead and put a can of garbanzo beans in, which is 1.5 cups of beans. So if you're cooking your own beans, it's 1.5 cups. And then we'll add some olives. If everybody knows me, they know I love olives. Usually I eat half of that before it ever makes it in here. You can use regular black olives from a can, or you can use Kalamata, which Kalamata olive, they're more expensive, but they're kind of a fruity flavor, and they're nice. They're oftentimes when you buy them, they're not pitted, and these are just super easy. So we're gonna go with that. We've got a lot of stuff in here. So this is gonna take me a little bit of time to process it. So then I usually stop it. Ooh, it's looking nice. And then I just push it down in there. These are such pretty burgers too. This is my favorite veggie burger. So I have a formula for veggie burgers in the PlantPure Kitchen cookbook. It's called Veggie Burger Formula. And really, veggie burgers always have a starch like oats or rice or quinoa. They always have beans, and I love garbanzo beans, and lentils are great for burgers. And then it has a vegetable like carrots and spinach, and then it has sometimes an egg replacer, sometimes not. This one doesn't need it. It holds together really nicely. And then the spices. The spices, you can go crazy. You can do Italian spice, you can do Mexican spice. You could throw hot sauce in there, Cholula sauce, whatever you want. All right, I'll keep going here.
Janelle wants to know if these can be grilled.
I think they can be grilled. Here's the thing about the grills, and plant-based burgers tend to fall apart a little bit, but these, of all the burgers that I make, I think these hold together the best. So I would give it a try. You might want to put something over the grill so it doesn't fall.
And Linda wants to know if you can use frozen spinach instead of fresh.
I would not, because frozen spinach has a lot of moisture. And so if if you're going to do that, you're going to have to play around with the oats a little bit, because you want to dry it out, and you don't want to be going to spinach and oats, because now what you're going to have is a spinach and oat burger. So I would recommend that you just double the basil or use fresh kale or something like that. I probably wouldn't go frozen. This is a pretty big recipe, and I got 6 very good-sized burgers out of this. Another thing that really holds this recipe together are the olives. Here we go. I'm going to turn it on again. The thing about your food processor is you just have to be patient with it if you want to get the right consistency. I think it's almost there. I'm going to do it one more time just to drive our sound guys crazy over there. More time. It's perfect. It's fine.
Karen says Tom is eating all of the raw mixture.
It's good. That's my sister, Karen. She cooks with me every Thursday night. And my brother-in-law, Tom, cooks too, and he's eating it raw. And that's the thing about this. It's really good without even cooking it. So, glad you guys are enjoying it. Let's throw that in there. So I'm going to take all this out. It gets a little bit mushy on the bottom, but that's okay, because you sort of need that to hold it together. And I can still see the beans, which is nice. And I don't know about you, but I think my quinoa is done. Turn it off.
Jody says she can't wait to try the potatoes, but of course we know that Jody loves potatoes.
Is this Jody? Jody, yes. Yeah. Jody Cass is director of PPC. Yeah, I love potatoes too. So, okay. So now
here's a question. Alethea wants to know, can I cook the burgers and fries together?
What was the question?
Can I cook the burgers and fries together?
Yes. Yes, you can. Absolutely. You can cook the burgers and fries together. Yes. You know, so I want you guys to see this.
And Tim, hang on, if you do, should you cook it at 425 or 400?
400, but you might want to take the burgers out first, let them sort of sit and cool, and then leave them in there. The oven I have here is not great, and they have been in there for over a half an hour. I'm still cooking them. At home, I can do French fries in 15, 20 minutes. It really depends on your oven. If you have a nice oven, it's convection, it'll go really quickly. I want to show you this, though. I don't know if the camera can get this. You need to see this. See these fries? See how they puffed up? There's air in them. They do that because of the starch that's on the French fries. These are great. You know, I practiced these 3 times before the cameras were turned on, and I couldn't get them to work. I'm going to stick them back in there for just a touch longer. Now I'm going to have everybody buying an air fryer. So now we have our, I call it burger batter. And then take your quinoa, all of it. If you were to make a big batch of quinoa, this is what I would do with it. Cool it down and put it in baggies by the cup. So in my freezer, I have bags of quinoa, bags of rice that are frozen. So if I'm making a burger, I just pull it out, and it's really, really easy, so you don't have to stand there and make that. Then we're going to add nutritional yeast flakes. I think there's 3 tablespoons. That gives it that nice cheesy flavor because pesto has Parmesan cheese in it. And then a lemon, a tablespoon of lemon. I'm just going to go ahead and use a half a lemon, squeeze it in. And if you're using salt, you can sprinkle a little bit of that in or not. And then just move it around, and that's your burger recipe. You could also use this to make, I think it'd be really, really good spaghetti and veggie balls because it's got that really nice pesto kind of flavor to it. I've made these burgers so many times. We had them for lunch today because I had like 6 of them in the freezer because they're so easy to make up ahead of time. Okay, so put this over here. And then get your other cookie sheet. And then when you go through this process, wash your hands, right? Everybody's washing their hands because of COVID. Wash your hands, get them wet, put some water on them, and then make your burgers because it won't stick to your hands. And I usually make about 6 good-sized burgers. So, and I really like the way the quinoa makes these burgers kind of stick together.
Hey, Kim, you're not burning your fries, are you?
I don't think so. I thought about that. But I can keep moving. I thought about that. This oven is not working the greatest. Okay. I'm going to take them out now because I might forget about them and burn them, but these started to puff a little bit. And they're good. I mean, it's oven fries are great. The air fryers are nicer, but turn your convection oven on. These are pretty good. Can you see them? Okay, I'm going to set them over here and let them cool and finish these burgers. You know, use your hands when you're cooking. I know a lot of people don't like to get their hands in the dough, but it's just so much easier.
Hey, Kim, Travis wants to know, how long does nutritional yeast last?
I don't know, because that's a really good question, because it's, you know, it never lasts very long in our house. I think that it would probably last for 6 months anyways. We use it in a lot of things. And I know a lot of people who started plant-based and they said, what is the thing with nutritional yeast? Everyone loves it. I don't like it. And then the more they used it, the more they started liking it. I didn't used to like quinoa. I hated quinoa. I just thought it was yucky. And then the more I started cooking with it, I really like it. And I started blending it with things instead of eating it by itself. I think I'm gonna get 6. And these might be really big for you, but for me, they're perfect. And I forgot to turn off my phone. All right. And this is the last one. They have these little gadgets, which I don't have. I have way too many gadgets in my kitchen, where you can actually make burger patties, really nice, perfect burger patties. But I actually think they're pretty when they're not so perfect.
So Kim, Jody wants to know if she can use Yukon Gold potatoes in place of russet potatoes.
You can. Other potatoes have more water in them, so they'll just cook a little bit differently. But I've done them with red potatoes. I've done them with Yukon Gold. Yukon Gold, I think they're a little bit more watery, but I think it's really important to use russet if you want to get that really creamy flavor. Okay. Okay, so these are done. Let's have a look. They're probably a little more, I don't know, I think they're pretty good, but they might be a little more done than. But look how crispy they are. And I didn't put any oil in these. So I could just eat this for dinner, actually. This would be perfect. All right, so it goes back in.
Kim, Alethea wants to know if she's going to freeze some, should I do that now or before I cook them?
Okay, that's a really good question. She wants to know if she freezes them, should she do it now? If you're going to freeze them raw, you need to put your cookie sheet right in the freezer, just like this, and freeze them solid. And then take them out and put them in a baggie rock solid. I wouldn't do that. When I do it, I cook them, I cool them, and then I put them in baggies. So we don't buy veggie burgers because there's so much junk in them. There's a lot of oil, there's a lot of isolated soy proteins, sometimes there's egg whites, there's just so many ingredients. And when you do this, you can just make a bunch and freeze them. So I'll go ahead and stick these in the oven real quick. And that's it. So I know you guys are all still cooking, but I was cooking before you got here. So these are what they look like when they're done. And you can see they're pretty firm. They hold together really nicely. And I like to put different things on my burgers. So let's talk about buns, because everybody struggles with burger buns. I went to our food co-op. I've been to Walmart. Your burger buns are rarely, I don't think you're going to find them without oil in them. And so these have just a little bit of oil in them, and I think it's like less than 7% of the calories. So I'm not going to worry about it because this is what I found, and I want to have a burger tonight. I think it's okay. These were a little higher. They're Rudy's. If you really want to get a completely clean hamburger bun, I'd probably just get Ezekiel bread and put it on bread if you want to. So Nelson's dying to come up here and share a burger with me. That's what we're going to have for dinner tonight. So we'll go ahead and put some of these on the plate. Okay, so I made a lot of fixings because to me that's the fun part of a burger. What do you want on your burger?
I guess the
Not
fixins.
Not ketchup, right?
Oh, I love ketchup.
Nelson loves ketchup. So if you love ketchup and you don't, I bought Field Day Organic. It still has sugar in it, but if you love ketchup, you can make your own. You can use tomato paste and vinegars and control the sugar. All right, Nelson, you gotta try this.
Yeah, you have to put it up there though and show everyone. Yeah,
Put onions.
These are really delicious. They've got a good flavor. They've got a crispy texture. Really good.
Did you try one?
Yeah.
They're probably a little hot.
These are nice and crispy. I'm gonna put it up there for Brian to see.
I had an avocado, but it's got so much on it that it's probably gonna spill over. You can put anything, sprouts, avocados, pickles, relish, anything that you want. That is really good. Next Thursday.
I'll try it.
You want me to make you another one?
No, I'm
You
going
wanna
to try it. Someone's got to taste test it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next Thursday, I'm really excited about the recipe. Is it good? Can I try it?
Yeah. Really good. I'll see if you have any more questions.
It is good. And I had it for lunch today too. It's still good. Next week, we're going to make enchiladas with a mole sauce. Mole sauce is a really rich, it's that dark sauce that you get when you go to a Mexican restaurant, and it always has oil and this stuff in it. This one is so good that we've been working on it all week. I came up with a super easy mole sauce that you can do in 5 minutes. So I hope you'll join us. Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, question. Mary Beth wants to know, do you have better results using raw potatoes? She always uses pre-baked, but the shake and bake bag wouldn't work.
So some people like to pre-bake their potatoes and then cut them. If you're going to do that, you can do that. Sometimes they create crispier potatoes, but what I would do is only bake it part way, or you can steam them part way, not all the way. Just steam them so they're still a little bit tender but firm on the outside, and then shake them in the bag. They shouldn't fall apart because they're going to be sort of half raw, and then put them on your sheet, and they should work really nicely. The only reason I don't do that, it's just to me one more step I have to go through, but certainly if you have cooked potatoes, you can do that. You might want to cut it up into chunks instead of French fries, and then shake it, and it doesn't really matter what shape it is because it still tastes good. So, all right, if we don't have any more questions, I will sign off tonight. I hope you enjoy your burgers and your fries tonight, and join us next week for mole sauce. I'm excited about that. But thanks for coming, and I'll see you back here in a week.